Good night and welcome to Tech Talk. I'm your host, Yuri Alpuche. Think about technology for a second. Now, think about three types of businesses who rely on it. You will think about internet service providers, you will think about electronics developers, and you may even think about app developers. You will envision tablets, computers, and fancy antennas and robots. But did you know that farms are now using a significant amount of technology to boost their productivity? Right here in Belize, large farms are beyond knee-deep in tech. I'd like to welcome to our show Mr. Gilbert Canton Jr., General Manager of the Valley of Peace Farms Limited, and Mr. Felix Kawich, the Farm Manager here, to share exciting ways technology is being utilized on their farm. Welcome to the show, gentlemen, and thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us, Yuri.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Valley of Peace Farm, what it is that you do, what it is that you produce, and where you're located?
Sure. So Felix and I will tag team questions tonight. But Valley of Peace Farms Limited is a large farm that specializes in corn and soybean and sugarcane production. Okay. We also have some shrimp production in the south under our farm Texmar Limited.
Okay.
We are a farm that is an investment from a company called New Fashion Pork in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And so we're bringing a lot of technology that they use in the US down to Belize. Some of that technology is already in use in some of the Mennonite communities and other large farms in Belize, but we're bringing some slightly different technologies that you'll see tonight. So that's a little bit about us in a nutshell.
Okay. And who are some of the customers that you work with or you export to?
You want to go?
Well, actually, some of the customers that we have are from Guatemala and the Caribbean.
Okay.
That's where we are exporting most of the corn. The soybeans would be locally, and the sugarcane would be at Santander Farms.
Santander Farms,
Yes.
so they take care of that portion
Yes.
of it. So, like you said, we understand that the Valley of Peace Farms utilizes a ton of technology. Can you tell us, can you give us some examples of technology that you're utilizing in your productivity?
Okay, sure. We really break down technology into two areas. We've got technology which is equipment-based, mm-hmm. and then we have technology where we apply science for things like crop selection. I'll let Felix talk about that. I'll talk a little bit about the equipment. When we talk farm equipment, we're really talking about large GPS-guided tractors. We're talking about what we call precision agriculture. So in precision agriculture, you are being very specific about where you're placing your seeds, how you're putting your fertilizer in, how you're preparing your ground. So the more precise you can be, the better off you are. I'll give an example. We are able to prepare just using a machine called a strip till. I know it's a funny name, but we're using a machine called a strip till. It tills just a strip of ground, mm-hmm. and it places the fertilizer inside that furrow. We then come behind and place the seed within a centimeter of where that fertilizer is. So that's an example of precision agriculture, okay. using machines. We also utilize drones and other things and other types of machines to make sure that we are growing the best crop we can. In terms of the plant science, I'll let Felix talk about that a little bit.
Well, in terms of the plant size, we always try to optimize yield, and basically for optimizing that, we always have to be careful what we're applying. Mm-hmm. So for this, we would be taking soil samples to determine what nutrients we have. We consider what the plants require, and that's where we determine what we need to apply. We're always careful in trying not to under-apply nor over-apply. Added to that, we also do leaf analysis to try to understand how the crops are growing.
Oh, wow.
And then, and to try improve on the farm, we're also doing like variety trials, which is basically, currently we would have like 8 varieties that we're testing out to see what would be the best for our farm.
Oh wow, so you guys have a lab going on as well, looking at different...
Well, our lab would be a big open field.
Right, okay. So you guys really are utilizing technology in the entire value chain of your operations, but going back to the beginning, before you can plant anything, you want to ensure that you have proper drainage on your farms.
Sure.
Is this correct?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Viewers, let's take a quick look at a video that showcases impressive piece of equipment that the farm uses that allows them to have underground drains instead of the traditional surface drains that most other farms use?
So it's a Wolf tile plow. Its main job is to install plastic pipes ranging from 4-inch to 8-inch, anywhere from 2.5 feet in the ground up to a maximum of 7 feet. It's ran off of RTK GPS, which is some of the latest technology. It records the elevation of the field. Every 5 feet or so, it has a GPS point of that specific elevation. And when you're going along and installing the pipe, the GPS adjusts every 1 second to keep a perfect slope to make sure that the water runs smoothly and doesn't slow down and gets the rain off your field quicker. You're able to work your fields faster. So when we start a new field, we have a little vehicle that we have our GPS system installed on, and we drive up and down this field, and it gives us a nice topography map. And from that point on my computer, I design a plan for an entire field on what size pipe is going where and how much is going to be needed for that field. That way we can plan on, how much to order, how much to get to each field. And then once it's planned and designed, then I'll put that plan into the machine, and basically we get started by installing the bigger pipe. When you're installing a line, the pipe will sit on this platform here. It's typically swung out to the side, and then as you're going along, the pipe is fed through all of these hoops, and it goes all the way up here, and it gets fed by that wheel. That wheel feeds it down through the boot and comes out the bottom there underneath the ground. And then when you get to the end of the line, there's a hydraulic cylinder at the top that actually crushes the pipe and seals it so that dirt and other stuff can't get into it and clog up the pipe later on. So it makes a nice flat at the very end. Once you finish, you lift that up out of the ground and you can move on to the next line. When I drive a line to get the lay of the land, this is what it looks like. And then in here, I can decide exactly what's the absolute minimum depth that I want to go and what's the absolute maximum depth I want to go. For the most part, with the GPS, it's able to adjust and keep up really well. But when you're on rough ground like this, you have to go a lot slower and give it more time. If it's smooth and you have a lot of slope, you can just run as fast as you want to, and it'll give you a nice smooth line to where this is kind of.
That is an impressive piece of equipment, and I'm sure the cost of such an equipment is quite significant, but so are some of the benefits. Can you tell us some of the benefits of such a machine?
Sure, absolutely. So that tile machine has been what has really been it's been a turning point for us. It's been a bit of a godsend because we farm in Belize. Everyone who farms knows you farm on black dirt or you farm on red dirt, right? Red dirt's more forgiving, black dirt is not. And our goal on our farm is we need to have 2 crops a year in order to make our profit and our P&Ls work, right? So prior to having that tile machine in place, we could not get a good wet season crop. Now, any ground that we put in, but we put tiling in, we can get a good second crop in. So what that does for you, in addition to draining, what it does, the whole point of that machine is every 60 feet in a field, you have a piece of 4-inch tiling, and it's draining out. And what that does is it lowers the water table. So it creates a profile of water that's kind of shaped like that. And so that profile, what it does is it's bringing down the water table. And so the plant roots are not sitting in water, and they're reaching down and they're getting deeper. They're getting deeper into the ground, so they're promoting very healthy root development. So that's very important. On top of that, it gives you back 10 to 15% of your, what's that? It gives you 10 to 15% of your field back because you don't have surface drains in place.
Right.
And it's been shown that where tile is installed effectively, you can have up to a 30% gain in yields on your field. So it's all in all, it's a very nice tool to have in Belize. I think it's the only one in Belize right now. But based on the results that we're getting, I'm pretty sure you're going to see more of them.
So
here
the
in
returns
future.
are very, very big. So it's a worthwhile investment to have.
For us, it has been. yes.
Right.
In our situation, yeah.
What you think would be the next level now? So you're one of the only farms that have this underground drainage. So what would be the next step after that? What
In terms of drainage.
drainage, yes, in terms of drainage and innovation there.
In terms of drainage and innovation, I don't know. As far as I know, you know, this is about as high end as it goes in subterranean drainage. There are some areas that you have to do some surface drainage.
Right.
I mean, the next level would be if I could turn on and off the rain. Then I wouldn't have to worry about the drainage so much.
Control the rain.
If I could do that,
Right.
then yeah, maybe that would work.
That is a good ask. Viewers, after this machine is used, the land can then be prepared for planting. That alone involves many processes, including breaking up the soil, removing debris, and fertilizing. That would take dozens of humans and many days of sweat to complete. But there's a tech for that too. Let's take a look at another impressive machine.
Behind me, we have a strip till row unit. This strip till unit has two main functions. One is to prepare the land on a specific zone, thus creating a seed bed for planting corn or beans. And it also incorporates the fertilizer, which means we're placing the fertilizer below the seed. Just to explain the row unit, it's composed of coulter blades, which cuts the soil. Then we have some trash rippers, which basically remove any excess trash or crop residues that we have. And then we have other blades that would incorporate the fertilizer. The equipment is all GPS enabled. So basically, wherever we strip till, we'll come back afterwards and plant the corn right in the same space. So one of the main functions is the fertilizer incorporation. As you can see, this yellow tank, that's where we add the fertilizer. The fertilizer gotta be very dry so that we don't have any clogging. Then it's activated through a fan, that the fan blows that fertilizer through these hoses and then into the down unit. So when the fertilizer comes into these hoses, it travels all the way through this pipe and underneath right here, and then it falls into the ground. As you can see here, this blade would basically be cutting the soil so that we make way. And then this is what we call the trash rippers. So basically these would remove the trash. And then these blades would basically still be cutting the soil, but at the same time it will be incorporating the fertilizer, which comes out through here. And then all the soil that's being cut will remain right here in the middle. And then it gets broken down into smaller clods with these discs. Since the tractor has a GPS activity, it records where it passes by. This is recorded in a monitor, and then we will be changing monitors between tractors. So when we go on plant, we use a different tractor than this with a planter, and we use the monitor previously used for the strip till unit. So basically that has already saved the tracks, and we will use it to plant right on the same. The precision is very high, and it will probably be off like 1 to 2 inches in some, yeah, which is not a problem.
Simply awesome. That is very impressive. That machine does everything for you. Felix, before such a machine, how would you have prepared the land?
For that, then we'll have to do like plowing and harrowing in order to get like an optimum seed bed. In this case, it would take probably 2 to 3 passes, and plus the fertilizer application and incorporation. And with the machine, we can do it all in one.
And how much time would it have taken doing it manually versus this machine?
Well, manually we cannot.
Well,
we can't.
or
The traditional way. In terms of time, no. I think with this we're becoming very more efficient.
Okay.
Time-wise, would you have?
Well, to add a little bit to that, so you would, like you're saying, you would plow, then you would harrow, and you'd have a little bit of waiting time in between as well, so that the soil firms up and breaks down. So in terms of saving time and being efficient with your fertilizer, this is 75% better easily.
Nice. Nice.
And cheaper, less diesel, so less emissions, less diesel burn. So it's better
efficiency
all around.
all throughout the process. One of the most impressive features of that machine is that you can utilize GPS from the component of fertilizing to the planting process. Can you explain a little bit more how this works?
How it's said, the strip till unit in the monitor, the GPS records exactly where it's passing through.
Okay.
So like if you saw the equipment has 16 row units. So each one will be where we're going to be planting the corn. So what we do is that we take the monitor, which has the data stored on it through the GPS, and then we use it in the planter. So it basically, we're quite precise to...
So all of this is programmed?
Yes.
Programmed beforehand?
No, because when we go and do the strip till unit, it's based on the terrain of the field that we have. So we just drive around and form the rows.
And that's where you're collecting the data and then starting to form that map that you need to guide the machine.
Yes.
Are you using the data that you're getting from this in any other way?
For the planting, we do use the data in order to see how is it, or to measure our planting. Because the planters that we have, they also can record the amount of seed per acre that goes in. Okay. So we can extract those maps and then interpret it and see how our planting was.
And then see how you can become more efficient and more efficient as time goes by.
Yes.
Another important factor in this entire process is irrigation. And like you rightly said, I mean, if only we could control the rain, when we need it, when we don't need it, right? So irrigation is very important. And you guys are also utilizing technology there, yes?
Yes, we do have an irrigation system for sugarcane that we're currently using.
Excellent.
If I could just point out one other thing before we move away from the fertilizer. Felix and the farm operations team, they do all these very extensive calculations to calculate exactly how much fertilizer to put onto different crops to get different yields and different conditions. So I think it's important to mention it when you talk about technology. There's also that aspect of the plant,
human element part of it.
Human and the plant technology as well, because that plant has to. It's like programming something. If he calculates he wants to put this much fertilizer in, he's going to get this much yield out of it.
And then the equipment gives us that chance to apply the exact amount that we're looking for as well.
So that's a precision agriculture aspect right there. Excellent, thank you. Let's take a look at how Santander, a sister farm, is bringing water to their crops.
This machine behind me is a lateral irrigation system, that's its name. And it's an irrigation system that basically, in this case, it stretches for 1 kilometer in width, and it can irrigate about 500 hectares, which would come out to be around 1,200 acres, more or less. So it can irrigate the amount of water that you have programmed. In this case, it's irrigating about 1.5 inches. It can be programmed to irrigate more amount or less amount. Obviously, if it irrigates more amount, it's going to go slower, and if it irrigates less amount, it's going to go faster. In this case, with the program that we have right now, it's going to irrigate about 100 hectares in 24 hours. With the climate being different every year, with the droughts that we're experiencing, it's very useful because we can guarantee that we can apply exactly the amount of water that we need, that is going to be equivalent to the evapotranspiration or the amount of water that the plant uses during the cycle. As far as I know, here in Belize, they have pivot equipments right now, which are somewhat similar to these equipments, but the difference is that they pivot around their own center. These ones go lateral, so they go up and down, so they can irrigate a lot more area than the pivots. The only thing is that they require a lot more infrastructure than the pivot obviously, because it only goes in one place. This one goes a long way. Right now we're using a cable of guidance, but in the future we are intending to use auto guidance with GPS RTK. Yes, so basically it will be the machine working with the satellites and a base station to correct the degree and to be going on the right path. So right now we're using the equipment with a combustion engine. In the future we plan to put electricity to it and to have these irrigation equipments run with the electricity that we produce at the sugar mill.
Impressive, a machine that spans over half a mile to ensure that the crops are getting the precise amount of water. How long has this machine been in Belize?
Gosh, I don't know when Santander installed that. Just so everybody understands, so Valley Peace Farm shares a border with Santander. We grow sugarcane for Santander, so we work very closely. I want to say that was installed maybe 3 years ago. I don't know
When
for
they
sure.
started operations, this is something that they brought with them.
It was, no, I think because they started operations around 2010, 2011.
Okay.
And then they brought this in a little bit later on.
I
But
see.
it is an extremely impressive piece of machinery,
How
as you saw.
important is such a machine for a company like Santander?
I'll let you answer the water question. I already had the rain coming. I'll let you answer the water question.
No, it's very important. If we can apply water to our crop, I mean, it helps it develop to its optimum conditions.
Right.
What it can, because I mean, the plants, they have roots where they absorb all the nutrients, but the nutrients have to be in a solution in the soil. So if we don't have that water, they can't
And-
absorb.
Yeah, and it won't
So-
grow, right?
Nope.
They mentioned in the video a mini version of it. Can
Okay, that mini version will be something like a center pivot irrigation system,
I see.
which would be much smaller. Like some that they have in Belize, they would be probably like the width of a diameter of 1,300 feet approximately, and they would cover like 125 acres, which would be like 10% of this other system that Santander has. So, and then that takes a longer time to irrigate. Like for example, if they want to apply 1 inch of water, it will take them approximately 40 hours. So, and this one can do what, over 1,000 acres in 24 hours.
Wow.
So,
That is a lot of land that they can cover in a short period of time. Very impressive. So when we think about farming and agriculture, we think about manual labor. I mean, it's amazing to me to see so much technology, so much analysis go into such a sector. So it's very impressive to see the work that you're doing at the Valley of Peace and also some of the work that your sister company Santander is doing. So
Thank you.
it's very, very impressive. Viewers, we are going for a quick commercial break, but we will be right back with more Tech Talk.
Tech Talk is brought to you by the Public Utilities Commission.
Welcome back to Tech Talk, a TV show that features high tech in our developing Belize. I'm your host, Yuri Alpuche. Before we get to BizTech, let's take a look at another edition of Street Tech.
What is cloud storage? Is it A, information stored in sky-high servers, B, information stored in servers and accessed through the internet, or C, information stored in multiple layers of firewalls for privacy?
It would be information stored on servers and access to the internet.
Information stored under multiple layers of firewall for privacy. Yes.
Information stored in servers and access through the internet.
B, information stored on servers and access through the internet.
B, information stored and access using the internet.
Information stored somewhere and then you access it through the internet, something like that basically.
Of the following, which is one usage of drones in farms in Belize? Is it A, to create maps of cane fields, B, to cut cane, or C, to fertilize cane stalks one by one?
I said A, to create maps of cane fields.
To create maps for cane fields, A.
A, to create maps for the cane fields, like the map for the cane fields.
A, to create maps of cane fields, right?
It's A, to create maps of cane fields.
Only thing that makes sense that here, you use it for create maps but so cane field, I will say.
Which of the following technologies is most likely to benefit a farm's performance? Is it A, Wi-Fi Direct, B, 3D printing, or C, GIS mapping?
This is a tough one. I said maybe C, GIS mapping.
3D mapping, yes.
GIS mapping.
I say B, 3D printing.
Isn't it C, GIS mapping?
I don't know whether GIS mapping, so I'm going with that.
Very good responses. A cloud storage refers to information stored on servers and accessed through the internet. As we are about to hear, drones are used in Belize to create maps of cane fields and for other crops as well. And of course, a technology that benefits the performance of a farm is GIS mapping. You deserve a pat on your back if you had at least 2 correct answers. Before we left off, we looked at an exciting machine that spans half of a mile underground to deliver water to farms. Now we will look at a piece of equipment that goes up into the sky, which we're all familiar with, a drone. Here is how a regular drone is outfitted to offer the farms invaluable data.
So on the left screen, we can see an RGB picture taken from a drone. And what we see here is the visible light, how a field looks as we would look at it with our eyes. So this picture has been taken overhead from up in the air. And you can see here the areas that are green that look good, and obviously the areas that don't have sugarcane, the roads and everything. So this is very useful if you want to do mapping, to know some features that you have in the fields, like for example, little ponds, forests. You can also map roads, you can map drainages. On the right, we have a picture of the same field. As you can see, you can see the creek that goes in the middle. We can see the small forest over here. And it's exactly the same field. The picture was taken exactly the same day, with the only difference that it was taken with another camera. This camera is called a multi-spectral camera, and what it does is that it captures the light that is not absorbed by the plants, yes, that we cannot visibly look with the eye. So what this means is that we can detect stress in plants before the stress is visible by our eyes, because plants irradiate those kind of lights before it's visible. The most important benefit, I would say, is that it gives you a lot of information, because you can look at areas that from outside the field you could not look at before. So for example, you can a lot of times see problems of population inside the field. You can also detect a pest or a disease before it gets even worse. Yes? So it's easier to manage and to have a better control of all the fields. That's the main advantage that it has.
That was really impressive. It's inspiring to know that there are developers that can conceptualize such technologies, as well as experts like yourself that are utilizing it in your operations. How important are drones for Valley of Peace farms?
Well, I would say they're quite an important part of managing the farm because, as we can see, we gather information. I mean, if we have a drone and we're capable of taking a picture and then seeing the light that is reflected, it gives us an idea as to what we can find out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, like these drones, we can use it to estimate like plant population, as we saw the images. Mm-hmm. Those red spots are basically plants are missing. Mm-hmm. So those things can tell us that if we need to go and replant. Also, at the same time, it can help us detect like if the plant is under stress. I mean, plant stress can be drought, like what we're having now. Mm-hmm. I mean, excess moisture. Mm-hmm. We can have pests and diseases that would cause that on a field. That if we were to monitor or walk a large field, we won't necessarily find it.
Right.
However, with the drone, we're capable of identifying it, and that's where we also need like the expertise to come along and go and inspect and see what we find. Mm-hmm. So I would say it's quite important.
Very important. Excellent. In the video, it was mentioned that the cameras on the drone can pick up the detection of diseases, like you said, spots on the leaves. Yeah. What is the span of time between when you pick that up on the camera versus when you can actually see it with your eyes?
Good question. To give a time, we wouldn't have one, because if we would have like a disease, so say a fungus, I mean, it needs a specific environmental condition to develop, right? So if, let's say, in a optimal condition, we have high humidity and we have high heat, I mean, it can take just a few days for us to start seeing the symptom. Right. But the good thing about the drone is that we can see, or at least detect when the infection has started, because the plants will reflect some of the light, because we have the RGB, red, green, and blue light. So basically, it reflects some of this. So that's where we can say, like, all right, we have a problem.
Okay. And what type of savings would utilizing drones on your farms?
One, it makes us more efficient to identify problems in the field. I mean, so that saves a lot of time.
Right.
I mean, if we picture a 500-acre farm, I mean, we can't walk it.
Yeah.
So it saves us a lot of time by taking those images.
If I could say, it's a decision-making tool. So if we can go out and take pictures of a farm and we can say, okay, this area, there's no crops over here, we need to do something about that, then we can make a decision on what we need to do there. So it's critical, absolutely critical for today's farming on the scale that we're doing it.
Excellent.
Right.
And if we're to compare the amount of time you take to do this type of analysis behind the scenes versus the work on the ground, I mean, how would you compare your time being shared there?
Analysis is pretty fast.
It's quick now with technology,
There's
right?
a problem there. We need to go fix it. And then the other piece with agriculture is that it never, at least in Belize, it never stops.
Right.
There's something is always growing. So this sense of urgency is critical. So if you want to work on a farm, it's identify a problem, go fix the problem, because guess what? Next week that problem is going to be worse, and you're going to have so many more hours or so much more losses because you didn't get after it immediately. So having that drone to identify real time what is happening, it saves you money, it saves you time, it saves you chemicals, it saves you everything.
Right.
So it absolutely is critical.
Well, thanks.
And just to quickly touch, the next level that drones are going to is eventually you'll be able to spray fields with drones as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right now you're doing it manually?
No, we do it with tractors
Okay.
or airplanes, but there is new technology that's being developed to be able to, well, it's already developed, to be able to spray fields with drones. We just don't have it in Belize yet, but it is coming.
And this is something that the Valley of Peace Farm would like to venture into?
Eventually.
Eventually.
Yes.
All right.
Eventually, yes.
Impressive. And now, for our final high-tech farm video, we look at how corn grains and beans are processed, dried, and stored.
Once we're at the farm, we have the harvesters or the combines for taking out the corn. We actually get just the kernels, so that gets on a truck and trailer, and it's transported to here in Ontario at the Kaya Grains Agro Supply facility. Once the truck enters the facility, they get weighed in, and then they pass over to the receiving pit, which is behind me. Right there, the corn is unloaded, and then it's transported through a conveyor belt and through some elevators into a wet bin for storage until we're ready for drying it up. Normally that would be like no more than 48 hours. So once it's in the wet bin, we go to the dryer, which we use heat from LP gas, and we dry the corn to 14% moisture, and then it's ready for storage.
Really cool. I wish we could have taken the cameras up in those elevators so we could take a better look inside the silos, maybe next time. Can you explain what the processing process looks like?
Yeah, okay, I can take that one. So processing, once Felix sends the corn to the bin site,
right.
it's a simple, we weigh in how much corn we're receiving. It goes into a wet bin, then it goes into a dryer. The dryer that we have it's a Brock 7000 dryer. It's one of the largest dryers that they manufacture. So we have to have a lot of corn to get started. And it's a very simple process. You have a tower. You saw the tall tower. There's a belt on there. Above that belt, we have fans that blow hot air over a burner and through the corn. At the bottom, as it comes past that belt, it sucks cool air in, so it cools the corn off as it's coming down. And so that corn passes from the very top. If you imagine a kernel of corn starting at the top of the tower, it starts off at maybe 19% moisture. By the time it hits the bottom of the tower, it's at about 13.5, 14% moisture. And then from there, it's transferred into the bins for storage. And it's a very simple process, but it takes a lot of infrastructure and a lot of technology. All of this stuff right here is automatically controlled. It's programmed PL control. We've got PLCs to control everything. Right. It's all push button, press button, and even the corn. Once it's in the bin, we have an app on our phone, and we can look at what the temperature of the corn is inside the bin. We can turn fans on, turn fans off.
So you can control the conditions
from your
mobile phone. Wow, that's
absolutely.
pretty powerful.
Yeah, I guess there's a cloud. So it sends information up and comes back down.
Right.
But yes, absolutely, we can control how we're storing corn from our cell phone.
And how important is drying?
It's very important, especially in our humid conditions. So if you can imagine corn at anything above 14%, it's going to ferment because there's enough moisture in there for it to ferment. So you've got to get it down below 14, down to 13, 14% to 13.5% to get it so you can store it. And there's storage charts in our conditions. We can store for maybe up to a year if we're really good at it. 6 months is what we shoot for to get the corn
Before you
out.
get it exported.
Before we sell, we like to sell.
So is that the
within 6
standard
months.
waiting time? After you dry, you store for 6 months, or you can?
No, you start selling immediately.
Or you could start sell immediately.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you can, but again, it's not just you're going to wait for market conditions. Maybe you're waiting for price to come up.
Right.
Maybe there's too much corn on the market, or you
Right.
have a contract that you need to meet 3 months down the road. So you have to have that ability to store. So the corn has to be dry enough to store.
Felix, you mentioned earlier in the show that you export internationally, but you also have local customers. Can you expand a little bit more on who some of these customers are?
Yeah. So internationally, so we have. There's two companies. So Valley of Peace Farms is our local company, and then Kyle Grain and Agro Supply Limited is our DPA, Designated Processing Area. So Valley of Peace Farms will sell to mostly soybeans on the local market, and then most of the corn is going to go internationally to places that make chips like Frito-Lay. We've sold corn to Frito-Lay before.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you open your Doritos, and that's Belize corn.
That's Belize corn.
Right. So you can smell it. It smells good. So that's Belize corn. And we've exported to other people who produce chickens and pigs and stuff in Guatemala. So Belize produces enough corn. It's self-sufficient in corn. We have excellent farming communities. It's not just ourselves. There's Banana Bank. There's all the Mennonite communities.
Right.
So we have a very active grain market, not just corn, but rice, soybeans, edible beans.
Right.
So the farming in Belize is good.
It's good business.
Absolutely.
It's proteins, and that's a very important part of everyone's diet.
It's food security for the country as well.
Absolutely.
Right.
A part of technology is the human capacity. How has that experience been for the Valley of Peace Farming in terms of finding the human capacity to operate the technology and understand the technology? How has that experience been?
I'm going to let Felix talk about the ball. I just want to say one thing. One of the most exciting moments for me was actually finding somebody like Felix, a Belizean agronomist. No, seriously, a Belizean agronomist that can actually help us grow and understand the conditions. And one of the first things he did when he came in was he put a training program in place to train some of our operators. I'll let him talk about training some of the guys. Not everybody understands it all, but we have been through and been trying to find some of those people. So yeah, it's very exciting to have people like Felix at the company.
So basically, like you said, at times it's difficult to find persons to do the job.
Right.
We cannot expect to have people to come and know the technology that we are having. So when they come on board, or whoever we get, basically goes through a training process. We train them, one, through crops, because we have to understand how the crops grow, because every single process that we do, we must always consider the crops. And then two, the machinery. We do have some technical persons that come in and give training to our personnel so that they're capable of doing the job.
Okay. In terms of the team that you have at the Valley of Peace Farm, how many employees do you have? And from that pool, how many are Belizeans and how many are these experts that you need to bring in?
So we have, at Valley of Peace Farms, we have 38 full-time employees that are here with us year-round. Of those, we have 37 Belizeans and 1 expat. So, but our expat is working on becoming Belizean, so he's sticking around.
There you go.
No pressure, Mitch. But that is one of the things that we are most proud of, is that we've been able to have that technology transfer. And I will go out and say this. I'll go to bat for any of my guys. When we go hard, Yuri, we go 7 days a week, 16, 18 hours a day, and these guys don't bat an eye, don't blink an eye. They operate the machinery perfectly. We're able to maintain our own machinery. We have our own fabrication shop. It's a real farming operation that we have going on. Yeah, absolutely.
Apart from all the training that happens at the farm level, do you think that agriculture and technology should be also prioritized in our education system in Belize?
Certainly, I do think that we need to prioritize it and teach the younger generations as to what we have.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to see that.
Yeah. And there's so many opportunities in agriculture that we haven't even explored yet.
Right.
So the younger generation has, there's so many things that they can get into with successful agriculture in Belize. Especially with tourism, we need to feed that market. They look for different foods. So.
Right. So where technology is concerned, what is next for the Valley of Peace? You mentioned drone crop spraying, right? That's one possibility. Is there anything else that the company is looking towards?
I would say keep getting updated. Because nowadays we're always getting new varieties. With climate change issues, we're always having different requirements. So basically that technology that's being developed, we also need to bring it in and apply it. Also, we can apply that to, let's say, chemicals. Every year we're getting new chemicals. We're having bugs becoming resistant. So we always have to keep searching for new stuff.
Keep updating.
Yes.
So keep researching and updating.
And looking for technology that fits our problems, our issues. I will give you my favorite example is this. We explained to you with the tile machine, with the tile plow, it allows us to get 2 crops in. We have a lot of mud because we farm black dirt. Well, technology is not just new technology. Sometimes it's applying the right technology to your problem, right? And so we went to the shipyard community and found a locally manufactured sprayer with 9-foot diameter iron wheels. And we bought one of those. And it's a tractor that's built in Belize, and it's the right technology for handling mud for us.
Built in Belize, wow.
100% built in Belize. And it's the right technology for handling mud for us. So as we go about farming and we identify little problems that we are up against, the next thing for us is to find solutions to those problems and to tweak our current processes so we become more efficient. So that 9-foot, I'm very happy with that machine, and it was a right solution for us, and we will find the right technology for each of our problems as we go forward.
So I'm happy to see that the Valley of Peace Farm is practicing a lot of innovation.
Right, exactly.
within your environment. So kudos to you guys. Is there any final words you would like to leave the viewers with, Gilly?
No, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Any final words? No.
No? Well, thank you so much for sharing all that really inspiring work at the Valley of Peace Farms, and I look forward to seeing more innovation at your farm, and I look forward to see you also helping out other farms with these innovative practices, because we need to help out one another in order to build the economy the right way. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you for having us.
And viewers, we now go for a final commercial break. Stay tuned.
Tech Talk is brought to you by the Public Utilities Commission.
Welcome back to Tech Talk. Tonight's BizTech was an exciting eye-opener. It's hard to imagine how some of these equipment were even built, much less conceived. But the show continues and gets a bit more practical as we move on to Corey for some tech news.
Most people are happy with their physical appearances, but still, the perfect Instagram filter is surely the cherry on top. Hey, I'm Corey, and I have all new 411 on the latest 101011, aka Tech News. When posting photos to apps like Instagram, you can apply a filter that changes the color or even temperature or the texture of your photo. It can be a real struggle trying to find the perfect filter to go with those picturesque selfies. Facebook knows what's up, and their tool for building augmented reality effects, Spark AR, has been partially solving the problem since May of 2018. But now, you can be the artist of your own life, or in this case, of your own filter. Spark AR now allows users to make custom face filters and other effects for IG stories. Initially, you had to be an approved creator to get it in the filter game. But now, anyone can create and upload their AR filters to Instagram. Instagram will even introduce an effects gallery tab on the artist's profile so you can display your work. This will also boost your following because to be able to use your filter, users must follow your IG account. Once they've added you, effects automatically add to their in-app camera and you're all set. If you're an Instagram model, be sure to join a union and start demanding a salary. You've earned it. Next up, this next update is surely one that hits close to home. And for my fellow gamers, I know you'll all be excited too. So, I know I don't have to spend time ranting about the popularity of PUBG Mobile. It's already the world's largest grossing mobile game, hosting more than 50 million daily players as of June. Well, PUBG Mobile Lite is here to up the ante. Some of the changes you can look forward to in this new spin-off app are a smaller map to host 60 players instead of 100, more loot available, players can heal themselves in any stance except prone, and there will be increased shooting accuracy with aim assist and less weapon recoil. The cool new features are also in line with the designer's aim to have the game run on less capable hardware and to encourage faster matches. PUBG Mobile Lite only requires 490 megabytes of free space to download in comparison to the 1.6 gigs required for the original version. This new app is designed to run on devices with less than 2 gigs of RAM. According to Tencent, the Chinese gaming giant who created PUBG Mobile Lite, the game will make its way to Europe, North America, and Central America very soon. Belize, look out. And finally, most people, well, millennials at least, look at the camera quality when picking out a new phone. 16 megapixels would be the camera quality most people go for, with 12 megapixels being just about good enough. Well, Samsung and Xiaomi have announced that a new smartphone camera sensor has been developed, which packs 108 megapixels. Now, this rivals some of the leading DSLR cameras that use interchangeable lenses. With all this extra camera quality expected to be introduced at the end of the year, I expect to see even more Instagram models on my Facebook timeline. Perfect. Well, that's my tech news for today. Be sure to tune in again next week for more tech news brought to you by RF&G Insurance Company Limited.
Thanks, Corey. I love that you always find a way to highlight gaming tech. I sense some bias. The news about the new mega camera in smartphones is exciting. Pretty soon, professional photographers will be walking around with 2 or 3 phones instead of cameras. Tech certainly changes things for all of us. And now, let's hear from Alana for this week's Tech Tips.
It is a universally accepted truth that in order to achieve the perfect selfie, one must take just about a billion other ones first. Hello again, I'm Alana, and I'm here to bring you some fresh new tech tips, sponsored by Digi. So, you got the perfectly perfect, totally Instagrammable shot, plus about 40 other pictures that don't look so hot. Consider those selfies, the cute cat pictures you have saved, and all the memes you've screenshotted. And you may realize that your photo album is a bit stuffed, like Sunday dinner at Granny's house stuffed. But what are you to do? I, personally, would never, in a million years, sit myself down and scroll through all 17,000, yes, 17,000 of my pictures and manually decide which ones to keep and which to delete. But as that old wise proverb says, there's an app for that. Search for Photo Cleaner on the Apple app or Google Play Store, and multiple applications will appear to help you quickly and easily clear your albums of unneeded picture files. A photo cleaner works by scanning your album for any duplicate or similar pictures, so you can easily erase all the unneeded clutter. It doesn't delete your photos without approval, so you do have to put in a bit of legwork, but a little virtual spring cleaning should do you good. Remember the Marie Kondo mentality. If it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it. It's pretty good life advice too. Your phone speaker is an invaluable little tool that, in my opinion, does not get the recognition it deserves. Not only does it allow you to listen to music and calls and voice messages and videos, but it's also what notifies you of all your incoming calls and messages when you have your ringer on. Although we love and appreciate this little device, sometimes it's not as powerful as we'd like. That's why we invest in high-quality Bluetooth speakers and AirPods and headphones, but what happens when you forget those at home? We all know the cup trick. If you don't, simply putting your phone in a cup or bowl amplifies the sound and makes it a little bit louder. But did you know that you can make your phone louder with a few changes to your settings? On Apple devices, go into your settings and tap on Music, and then find EQ. Scroll down and select the Late Night setting. I promise you, it makes a noticeable difference. For Androids, you'll have to download an app such as Volume Plus, and it bypasses the set volume limitations that are on your phone. Another common speaker problem occurs when you drop your device in some water. Hey, it happens to the best of us. You can put your phone in rice all you want, but for some reason, the sound is just always a little bit muffled. I said it before, and I'll say it again. There is an app for just that. Sonic is an application that plays different frequencies from your phone speaker that actually physically pushes the little droplets of water out of your phone. Not by using mini robots or magic tricks, but by manipulating sound waves for your phone's benefit. Now, go forth and play your music for the world to hear, when appropriate. Thank you for watching this week's Tech Tips. I hope to see you again next time.
Thank you, Alana. Awesome tips. I won't call names, but I have a friend who has indeed been battling with deleting thousands of selfies through her phone. Well, we've been having a great time, but we are now at the close of Tech Talk for tonight. I would like to thank everyone who tuned in. I would once again like to thank our guests, Gilbert Canton Jr. and Felix Kowich from Valley of Peace Limited. I also wish to thank Corey and Alana, our brilliant tech correspondents, and our sponsors, the Public Utilities Commission, Digi, and RF&G Company Limited. Catch us again next Tuesday and every Tuesday after at 8 p.m. on Channel 7 and our Facebook page, Colorblind Multimedia. Until then, good night.